Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm making a mock draft for you guys today, and I'm joined with Caib, my fellow podcast member. He'll be joining me on this mock draft, and no reason to drag on. We'll go ahead and get right into it. For the first pick of the NFL draft, I'm going to go with Cam Ward out of Miami. Very good arm and great mobility. Tends to stand in the pocket for a little too long and likes to play hero ball at times. Has been noted for his kind of nonchalant nature. He's just the obvious pick at number one. The Tennessee Titans have an obvious need at quarterback. They need somebody who can get the ball downfield, and I don't think Will Levis is that. So I don't think there's very much debate on this pick.
I 100% agree. Cam Ward is the best off-market quarterback. He's a new prototype of quarterbacks with the Patrick Mahomes, the Caleb Williams, the Jaden Daniels, all of them. He's a new prototype, and we just have to respect it. Now, some people may not think he's the best quarterback in this draft, but who are we to say? We not no GM. We're not getting paid for this. We just have a mouth and a brain. But who knows? You know what I'm saying? But congratulations, Cam Ward, for potentially being the number one quarterback and the number one player off the board.
For number two, for the Cleveland Browns, I'm going to go with the other obvious pick, Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Great blitzer, great power. Absolutely no-brainer at defensive end. He's a very good athlete. Can tend to get a little over-aggressive at times, but really not something you really worry about with a defensive end. I can just imagine the kind of difference that those two pass rushers can make.
That's going to be a duo to see. There's no way you go wrong with the first three picks. And Browns, you're going to nail this pick because Abdul Carter, he's a dog.
New York Giants taking Travis Hunter, cornerback wide receiver out of Colorado. There's not much to add to Travis Hunter. He's got that amazing two-way ability that he says that he absolutely wants to play in the NFL. Of course, that comes with its own concerns of durability. You know, can he handle playing both ways in the NFL? He says he can, and only time will tell.
You absolutely nailed it. No, the Giants need a DB, and they also need another receiver to be with their quarterback, Russell Wilson, because not only can Malik Neighbors not only do it by himself, but who's going to get open? They have a rookie tight end, well, a second-year tight end now in Theo Johnson. They need more.
For the New England Patriots, we have our first offensive lineman off the board, Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. Very good athletic-wise, very good technique-wise. There is some inconsistent hand and body placement, but I don't think the Patriots can go wrong with this pick. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, I have him taking Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. There is some athletic and gap discipline concerns with Mason, but he's also not a pick you can really pass up on. He's going to be a home run pick, whoever is able to take him. For the Las Vegas Raiders, I have him taking Ashton Jonty. He's really shot up draft boards over the draft process. He's an amazing runner. There is some concerns about his snap count, his very high snap count at Boise State, but I don't think that should really be paid attention to too much. He was absolutely the kind of running back you put the team on his back and he'll carry you wherever he needs to go. And for the Jets, we have our second offensive lineman, Armand Membu out of Missouri. Membu's really known for his technique, but he does have some athletic concerns, but I don't think it's going to affect him very much in the NFL. This is where the draft gets a little more interesting. For the Carolina Panthers, I have him taking Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker's really a well-rounded prospect, good linebacker, good edge rusher, but he does have some block destruction issues, can struggle to get past blocks, especially against larger linemen, and he does have some zone coverage issues, but nothing that's going to affect him long-term in the NFL that I feel.
Jalen Walker is that prototype linebacker, that Micah Parsons-esque linebacker that's very raw, way rawer than what Micah Parsons was when he came into the league. But if he's coached right, I feel like he could be a very home run pick, like a very good pick.
For the number 9 pick, I have my second quarterback coming off the board in Shedeur Sanders. With Derek Carr possibly missing the 2025 season and maybe not being with the Saints long term, I could see Shedeur being a good pickup for first-year head coach Kellen Moore. Shedeur's known for his good accuracy and he's patient, but he tends to get a little too aggressive and holds the ball for a little too long, something that can be coached in the NFL.
I think it's a great fit because the Saints really just need a quarterback that can just get the ball to their receivers. He's a good player. has the potential to be a great player. He has the potential to be more of an athletic Tom Brady. He's a high floor, medium ceiling type of guy.
For pick number 10, we have the Chicago Bears picking Mykel Williams, edge out of Georgia. He is probably the most complete defensive end in this year's first round. Showed the production at Georgia as well. I don't see very much downsides to the Bears picking him. For the 49ers at pick number 11, we have our first true wide receiver taken off the board at Teodoro McMillan out of Arizona. He's got great size and good hands, can struggle against man coverage at times, and is really just your prototypical vertical threat. But with some uncertainty around Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall, I think the 49ers wouldn't be able to go wrong with this pick. And with that, the Cowboys at number 12, they still need a wide receiver too, so I have them taking Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas. He's really known for his blazing speed and great yards after the catch ability, but he tends to catch the ball with his chest more than his hands at times. Could be an issue that coaching can fix very easily.
I have to agree, Matthew Golden's a very good player, but here's the thing, he doesn't play to that 4.29 speed that he ran. We watched a lot of games, we all anticipated him to run like a 4.4, 4.5. Due to what he played. Now, is he a good route runner? Yes, he was Texas' best route runner last year. Is he a deep threat? Maybe. He could be a very consistent deep threat. Now, he's a good 50-50 ball. He caught, I believe, 11 out of 18 contested balls are thrown his way. Hey, that's all you can ask for. We just need a guy that can get open, and get yards after the catch, and I believe Matthew Golden can.
At pick number 13 for the Miami Dolphins, I have him taking Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. He has good size, his tackling and route recognition are very good, off the charts good, but he tends to take a little bit too many risks at times, and he tends to rely a little bit more on his physical gifts rather than his skill, which could make a lot of teams a little wary about picking him, but I don't think he'll fall very much further than this. At pick number 14 for the Indianapolis Colts, this is the obvious pick if it happens. I have him taking Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. Amazing receiver, amazing, cannot understate how amazing of a receiver he is at tight end, but his blocking does need a little bit of help, something that a coach could definitely fix. At number 15 for the Atlanta Falcons, I have them taking Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas. He's a great ball hawk and shows off his great toughness, but tends to get a little bit over-aggressive on tackling. But other than that, Jahdae is a pretty flawless prospect for the most part. I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons jumped at the chance to pick him.
I think that's a bad pick considering the lack of production that the Falcons have gotten from the edges last year. I think they desperately need more edges than a cornerback, because how good can a cornerback be if they're covering for 4 to 5 seconds? When your edges are not getting home. At
pick number 16, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle out of Texas. He's a great athlete, great technique-wise, but he struggles in space. Not really the kind of guy you want blocking on a run play, but that can be easily fixed with coaching. And I think that Arizona just needs some offensive line help to protect Kyler Murray. At pick number 17 for the Cincinnati Bengals, I have them taking Mike Green, defensive end out of Marshall. Mike Green is an amazing pass rusher. I don't think anybody really doubts that. Could be a potential Trey Hendrickson replacement if he gets traded or whatever happens. But his off-the-field issues scare me a little bit, and his run defense needs some improving. But other than that, I don't see a real downside to picking him. At pick 18, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M. He's got all the build and power and work ethic to be a great defensive end in the NFL, but he's a very raw talent. I can't understate how raw he is. And his production at Texas A&M showed that quite a bit. But I think with the right coach, he could definitely become one of the best in the NFL.
How raw was he again?
At number 19, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finally finding a possible answer at linebacker with Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. He's got the great build of a stereotypical NFL linebacker, being a great three-phase linebacker as well in pass rush, run game, and coverage. Though I will say his coverage needs a little bit more development and fine-tuning to be able to keep up with wide receivers at the NFL level. At pick number 20, I decided to go a little bit different for the Denver Broncos and went with Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan. He's really known for his run stopping, but he really needs to develop some kind of pass rush in order to really take himself to that next level. But there's a reason that Michigan defensive line is so highly touted, and he's one of them. Now on to pick number 21 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I went with a more controversial pick. Instead of picking a quarterback, I picked Josh Simmons, offensive tackle out of Ohio State, to help them shore up their offensive line. He's really got great power and good technique as well, but his play strength and pad level need to be improved to really take himself to that next level. But I think with the Steelers, they need to be able to protect their quarterback, especially if they sign somebody like Aaron Rodgers or whoever they may draft in the later rounds. At pick number 22 for the Los Angeles Chargers, I have him selecting Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. Colston is kind of the opposite of Tyler Warren, being a better blocker than he is a receiver. Not saying he can't be a receiver though. He does have some great red zone potential and needs to just improve his contested catch ability to be able to really solidify himself as a receiver. At pick number 23 for the Green Bay Packers, I have him solidifying their defensive line, picking James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. James Pierce is really a great pass rusher, but I think his character concerns are hurting him quite a bit, so much so that he could fall out of the first round. I don't think he will, and I think he'd be just fine in that amazing culture that Green Bay has. At pick number 24 for the Minnesota Vikings, I have him taking Nick Amanawari, safety out of South Carolina. After they kind of missed on Lewis Cine a few years ago, and with Harrison Smith kind of getting up there in age, Amanawari could be a really good addition to that Vikings stout defense. At pick number 25 for the Houston Texans, I have him picking Gray Zabel, offensive guard out of North Dakota State. After giving up on Kenyon Green and trading away Laramie Tunsil, the Texans really need some offensive line help, and I think they're going to get it in this year's first round. At pick number 26 for the Los Angeles Rams, I'm going to go best player available and pick Malachi Starks out of Georgia. It's not a bad safety room by any means, but I think that Starks would be able to elevate that safety room just that little bit more. At pick number 27 for the Baltimore Ravens, I have them solidifying their offensive line even further, picking Tyler Booker, offensive guard out of Alabama. They've really been missing that presence on the offensive line since Marshall Yanda retired, and I think Booker could be that next step towards re-solidifying that offensive line. At pick number 28 for the Detroit Lions, I have them picking Donovan Eziraku out of Boston College. They really need some pass rush help on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, and I think that Donovan could provide that. At pick number 29, I have the Washington Commanders solidifying their offensive line once again after trading for Laramie Tunsil and drafting Josh Connerly, offensive tackle out of Oregon. They really need to be able to keep Jaden Daniels healthy. You saw the absolute stellar season that he had, leading them all the way to the NFC Championship. I really think if they can keep him upright, they can return to that level once again. At pick number 30, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I think that the Bills really need to solidify their wide receiver room a little bit with Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman being their only reliable wide receivers. And with Amari Cooper departing, they really need a playmaker, and I think that he can provide that. At pick number 31, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Missouri. I think this is a match made in heaven for Patrick Mahomes, somebody who can create with the ball in his hands and also be a vertical deep threat. And finally, with pick number 32, the Philadelphia Eagles select Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. With Milton Williams leaving in free agency, I really think that the Eagles need to find somebody to pair up well with Jordan Davis, and I think Derek Harmon will be just that.
Every time you bust on maybe, perfect time.
I don't know what the fuck I'm even doing, bro.